Hey everyone, we are officially starting proofs. And we start with something that you already know. You have already done algebraic proofs in algebra. Okay, and so obviously this is a little bit more involved, but it's just to get you ready for proofs in geometry. Okay, so properties of equality. You already know these. Okay, the addition property says that if A equals B, then we get to say A plus C is equal to B plus C. Okay, the subtraction property of equality is if A equals B, then A minus C is equal to B minus C. Right? We could subtract the same thing on both sides, and A and B would still be the same. The multiplication property says that if you have A equal to B, then you could say A times C is equal to B times C. The division property of equality, if A equals B, then if you have A divided by C, that's equal to B divided by C. All right, so far it's pretty common sense. Distributive property says A plus times quantity B plus C, then A times quantity B plus C equals AB plus AC. Substitution property. If A equals, if A equals B, then A may be replaced by B in any expression or equation. The reflexive property says for any real number A equals A value will always equal itself. A reflexive, like a reflection. Okay, and symmetric says if A equals B, then B equals A. This is what happens when you get something like 5 equals X, and then the next thing says X equals 5. Okay, and finally, the transitive property. We'll use this one a lot in geometry. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to name that property. All right, so still review, and it's just getting you ready for proofs. If K equals 3, then 3 equals K. Which one was that? Okay, so that's a symmetric property of equality, but I'll just write symmetric. Number 2 is easy, so I'll leave that one for you. Number 3, 10y equals 10y. Okay, same thing on both sides of the equal sign. For any number A equals A, that is the reflexive property of equality. Oh, I wrote that in the wrong spot. Sorry, guys. Number 3, reflexive. Okay, number 4. If negative 5x minus 1 equals negative 11, then negative 5x equals negative 10. So this is an if then. How do we get from the first part to the second? Well, you guys can see they added 1 to both sides of the equal sign, right? If they add 1 here and here, then you get this statement. Okay, so that's the addition property of equality. Okay. How about number 5? If 10a equals 2b and 2b equals c, then 10a equals c. Okay, so that looks just like this, right? If this and this, then this. Okay, so that's transitive property of equality. Okay, let's do something a little bit harder. How about number 8? If 10x plus w equals 41 and w equals 1, then 10x plus 1 equals 41. Okay, so what did they do? They substituted 1 for w, right? So that's the substitution property. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. You guys can do the rest. I'm quite sure of it. Okay, so what is a two-column proof? Well, that's a good question. So a two-column proof is the common format used to organize a proof. Okay, the statements are on the left side, and the reasons justifying each statement are on the right side. So statements on the left and reasons on the right. Okay, and it actually says that here, right? You guys can see it, the statements and the reasons. Okay, what can be used as reasons? Well, you can use any properties, right? We just talked about some properties of equality. We have some definitions, like definition of a line segment. We have postulates, like the angle addition postulate. You've already learned that one. Okay, and we have theorems. Okay, so they start us off with some properties. So use the properties of equality to complete each proof. So we're given 4x minus 1 equals 27. Okay, and what's given generally goes in the first spot here. And then what we're trying to prove goes in the last spot. Okay, and so the first thing that we're given, 4x minus 1 equals 27, the reason for that is given. They gave us that. Okay, so we're moving from step 1 to step 2. What did they do to get from step 1 to step 2? Well, this one's pretty easy. You can see that they add 1 on both sides, right? It's not shown that they add 1, but that's implied. And you're left with 4x equals 28. Okay, so if you added 1 to both sides, they used the addition property. Property of equality. Okay, and how did they get from step 2 to step 3? 4x equals 28 to x equals 7. Well, you can see that they divided by 4 on both sides, so that is the division property. Okay. I'll leave you guys number 2 and move on to number 3. So we're given negative 9 times quantity 2x minus 3 equals 63, and we're trying to prove that x equals negative 2. Okay, so moving from step 1 to step 2, it looks like they did the distributive property. They multiplied negative 9 times 2x and negative 3. So that's the distributive property. Okay, how did they get from step 2 to step 3? Well, we have negative 18x plus 27 equals 63, and it turns into negative 18x equals 36. So it looks like they subtracted 27 on both sides, right? Subtraction property. Okay, and from step 3 to step 4, we divided by 18 on both sides, negative 18 on both sides. So if we divided, it's the division property. So hopefully you guys are getting the hang of this with algebraic proofs. We are just writing the reasons and using the properties for every single step that we do. Do we like it? Probably not. Most people don't like proofs, but it's okay. Okay, I'm going to do number 5. Okay. So we have negative 7 times quantity x plus 2 plus 4x equals 6 times quantity 2x minus 4. And we're trying to prove that x equals 2/3. Okay, so the first step is pretty easy to see. They just distribute. They distribute that negative 7, and then they distribute the 6. Okay, so then what happens? Well, look at the left-hand side of the equal sign. We have negative 7x minus 14 plus 4x. So they're combining the negative 7x plus 4x and making it negative 3x. And that's the only thing that they changed. Okay, so when that happens, we just say that they simplified. So simplify. It's not a property. Okay. Moving from step 3 to step 4. 12x. Add 12x to both sides. Right? If they added 12x to both sides, it's the addition property. Okay. So then what? Add 14 to both sides. Oh, you know what, guys? I got number 4 wrong. It's not the addition property. What did I do wrong? They didn't add 12x. They subtracted 12x on both sides. That's the subtraction property. Sorry about that. All right, but number 4 to 5, we definitely do add 14. So that's the addition property. And finally, we divide by negative 15, and so that's the division property. Okay, number 7. All right, now they don't give us any statements. We have to do it ourselves, but that's okay because it's easy, especially with these algebra ones. We're going to write down what's given in the first spot. So that's 2 times quantity x minus 9 equals negative 10. And the reason? Given. Okay, so if I were to solve this, what would be the first step? The first step would be to distribute that 2 to the x and the negative 9. So that's 2x minus 18 equals negative 10. Okay, so distributive property. Okay, so what's the next step? I want to solve for x, so I have to eliminate that negative 18. So the inverse operation will be to add 18 to both sides. That gives me 2x equals 8. Addition property. Okay, and the final step in solving is to divide by 2 on both sides, and that gives me x equals 4. Division property. So it's basically just listing the reasons for every step that you do. Okay, how about number 9? 10k minus 4 equals 2k minus 20. That's my first thing. Okay, and why? It's given. Okay, so the next step is going to be we're going to have to do something with a variable, right? So I can either subtract 10k on both sides or subtract 2k on both sides. I'm going to subtract 2k. That gives me 8k minus 4 equals negative 20. And how did I get there? I subtracted. Okay, so I'm still solving for k. I need to get rid of that minus 4, so I'll add 4 to both sides. 8k equals negative 16. Addition. Okay, and finally, 8k means 8 times k. So to undo multiplication, I divide k equals negative 2. Division property. All right. Our final one, 14 minus 2 times quantity x plus 8 equals 5x minus this quantity 3x minus 34. Given. Okay, so what's this first step in solving this? Well, the first step is to distribute, right? We have to deal with what parentheses that we have. 14 minus 2x minus 16 equals 5x minus 3x plus 34. Distributive property. Are you guys tired of writing the word property? Me too. Okay. So what's next? We have some simplification to do, right? Both sides of the equal sign. I have 14 and minus 16 that can be combined. That's negative 2x minus 2. And I also have the 5x minus 3x, which is 2x. And 34 just drops down. So that step was to simplify. Okay. So let's bring our variable to one side. Okay, I'll add 2x to both sides. I'm not going to show that step. I forgot. I'm adding 2x in my head. So negative 2 equals 4x plus 34. And how did I get there? That's the addition property. Okay, and I'm going to solve for x by subtracting 34 on both sides. Negative 36 equals 4x. Subtraction property. And finally, divide by 4. So that gives me negative 9 equals x. Division property. And you know what, guys? I didn't mess up, but they want this to be x equals negative 9. X equals negative 9. Okay, so which one was that? The one where you say negative 9 equals x turns into x equals negative 9. That is the symmetric property. Okay, so that's a good practice for beginning proofs. You guys are going to do all the ones that I skipped. I know it's a lot of writing, but it won't kill you. And I hope you guys enjoy this lesson. Okay, bye.